Hello, friends. Imagine your country is falling apart. There's famine, corruption, and angry mobs in the streets. And at the center of it all, the most powerful family in the empire is taking advice from a bearded man who looks like he hasn't bathed in weeks. Sounds like a bad joke, right? Well, welcome to Russia under Grigory Rasputin's influence. Now, we've already talked about how Rasputin slithered his way into the royal court by healing the young heir, Alexei Romanov. But at this point, his influence wasn't just limited to Alexandra and Nicholas. It was spreading. By the 1910s, Rasputin was doing more than just praying for Alexei's health. He was whispering advice into the ears of the Tsarina. And let's be honest, she was already pretty paranoid. She believed Rasputin was the only person who truly understood Russia's future, which meant that anyone who criticized him was automatically her enemy. Ministers, nobles, even Nicholas's own family. If they questioned Rasputin, Alexandra made sure they were removed from power. This led to absolute chaos in the Russian government. Capable officials were fired, and their replacements? Often people Rasputin personally liked. And what did Rasputin like? People who were obedient, corrupt, or both. But if you thought Rasputin's political meddling was bad, wait until you hear about his public image. The Russian people already hated him. The rumors about his drinking, his womanizing, his weird late-night parties, these weren't just whispered gossip. They were front-page news. Imagine waking up every morning, picking up a newspaper, and reading about how your government is basically being run by a mystical drunk monk. Not exactly inspiring confidence. By 1914, the situation had reached a boiling point. People were openly saying that Rasputin was ruining the country, and even within the royal court, more and more nobles started to agree. The only two people who didn't seem to realize this? Nicholas and Alexandra. And then came World War I. Now, we'll talk more about the war in the next episode, but let's just say it was a disaster for Russia. Millions of soldiers were dying, food shortages were getting worse, and people were looking for someone to blame. Nicholas, in his infinite wisdom, decided the best thing he could do was leave the capital and personally lead the army, which meant he left Alexandra and Rasputin in charge of the government. Yes, you heard that right. With Nicholas gone, Rasputin had even more control than before. He appointed and dismissed ministers like he was redecorating a room, and each decision was worse than the last. By now, even former supporters of the Tsar were starting to wonder, maybe we need a revolution after all. The nobility, of course, had had enough. They decided Rasputin had to go. And so, in December 1916, a group of nobles invited him over for a lovely dinner of poisoned cakes and wine. But Rasputin, being Rasputin, didn't die. So they shot him, and when that didn't work, they shot him again. And when that didn't work, they threw him into an icy river. That finally did the job. But here's the thing, killing Rasputin didn't save the monarchy. In fact, it was already too late. The people's trust in the Tsar was shattered, the country was on the brink of collapse, and the war was only making things worse. Because while Rasputin might have been gone, the disaster he helped create was still in motion. And soon, World War I would deliver the final blow to Tsarist Russia. But we'll get to that next time.